Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now before we get started, I have a question for you and let me know the answer in the comment section below. So the question is as followed. If Spring-Heel Jack could actually leap into your roof, watching you from your window, how long would it take before you actually realize he wasn't just outside, but already inside your house? Let me know your answer in the comment section. And now, let's get down with tonight's stories. The fog came early that night. It crawled through the gaslit street of London like something alive, thick, suffocating, and wrong. Even from the window of 221 Baker Street, I could feel it pressing in, as though the city itself were holding its breath. I, Dr. John Watson, had just finished my notes when the silence snapped. A knock. Not polite, not measured. 3 sharp blows, violent, desperate. Holmes didn't move at first. He sat in his chair, eyes half-lidded. Then, another knock. Louder. Closer. I swear, for a moment, I thought the door would split open. Holmes stood, slowly. "Watson," he said. "Whatever stands behind that door is terrified." The man who stumbled in looked like he had crawled out of a grave. Mud coated his boots, his coat torn, his face ashen, trembling. But it was the blood that froze me. Not his, someone else's. "Mr. Holmes," he gasped, voice cracking. "You must come. Please, before it comes back." "Before what comes back?" Holmes asked. The man's eye flicked towards the dark hallway behind him, and for a fraction of a second, I thought I saw something move in the shadows. I slammed the door shut. We were in a cab within minutes, racing towards the outskirts of the city. The man, Mr. Alistair Crowe, could barely speak. "My wife, God help me, I found her." His voice broke, but she was not alone. Holmes leaned forward. "Explain precisely." Crowd swallowed hard. "I heard something in the house, scraping, dragging, and then a scream." The cab lurched. Even Holmes' expression sharpened. "When I reached her room," Crowd whispered, "the door was open." He stopped breathing for a moment, as if something had wanted me to see. The house stood alone, swallowed by fog. No neighbor, no sound, just that awful suffocating silence. As we approached, I felt it again, that sensation, like being watched, closely. Holmes stepped forward without hesitation. "Stay sharp, Watson." We entered. The smell hit first, iron, rot, blood. The hallway stretched ahead, dim and flickering under a dying lamp. Then, a sound. Drip. 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 We followed it, each steps heavier than the last, until we reached the bedroom. I have seen war. I have seen men torn apart. Nothing prepared me for what laid inside. Mrs. Crowd was no longer whole. Her body had been slashed deliberately, methodically, like a butcher carving meat. Deep, savage cut ran across her chest, her arms, and her throat. Blood soaked the bed, the walls, even the ceiling. But it wasn't just the violence, it was her face, frozen in terror. Eyes wide, mouth open, as though the last thing she saw was worse than death itself. Then, a sound behind us, a creak. Holmes spun instantly. "Who's there?" Silence. But I heard it too, something shifting in the hallway. I stepped forward and suddenly a shadow moved, right past the doorway, fast, too fast. I fired my revolver. The shot exploded through the house, but there's nothing there. Nothing. Only the echo and the sound of something retreating. Holmes crouched beside the body. "Interesting," he murmured. "Interesting," I snapped. "Holmes, there's someone in the house." "Yes," he said quietly. "There is." He lifted her hand. Something was clutched in it. A piece of fabric, dark, rough, torn. Holmes smiled faintly. Our killer made a mistake. We searched the house, every room, every corner. Nothing. No footprints beyond Krauss. No forced entry. No sign of escape. It was as if the killer had vanished. Until we reached the cellar, the door was slightly open. Just enough. Holmes stopped, then pushed it slowly. The hinge screamed, and from below a whisper. Soft, wet breathing. We descended, step by step. The air grew colder, thicker, and then something dropped from above, right in front of us. I shouted! Holmes didn't flinch. It was a hook, covered in fresh blood, swinging slowly, back and forth, back and forth. Then a laugh, low, broken from the darkness. Too late! A figure lunged, knife flashing. I barely saw it. Holmes stepped aside. The blade sliced past his face. I fired again. The man screamed and collapsed. We dragged him into the light, and what I saw, God help me. His face was carved, not wounded, carved. Lines etched into his flesh like symbols. His eyes wild, unfocused. "Why?" I demanded. He began to laugh. She opened the door." "What door?" Holmes asked sharply. The man grinned, blood spilling from his lips. "The one inside." Holmes' voice hardened. "You knew the victim?" The man's grin flattered. Holmes held up the fabric. "Torn from your coat. You attempted to slice her, but she resisted." A pause. Then the man's expression broke. "She saw me. She saw what I really am." The police arrived within minutes. The killer was taken, screaming, trashing back into the fog. Arrested, contained, but not silence. Never silence. Later, back at Baker Street, I poured 2 drinks with shaking hands. What did he mean?" I asked. "About the door." Holmes stood by the window, staring into the fog. "Madness, Watson," he said softly. "Nothing more." But he didn't turn around, and I noticed, for the first time, even Sherlock Holmes looked uneasy. That night, as I tried to sleep, I heard something, a faint sound from the hallway. Drip, drip, drip. I opened my door, slowly, carefully. The corridor was empty, but on the floor, just outside my room, there was something. A smear, dark, wet, trailing away into the darkness, trailing away into the shadows. And for one horrifying moment, I thought the case wasn't over. I don't knock. I never have. Doors are for people who believe they are alone. I chose her because she was careful. Careful people are the easiest to break. She locked her doors every night, front, back, even the sliding glass door that barely opened anymore. I watched her check them, one by one, with the same routine precision. She would test each handle twice, then press her forehead briefly against the wood, as if listening, as if she could hear me. She couldn't. Not yet. Her house sat on a quiet street where the trees leaned too close, their branches brushing against the second floor window when the wind picked up. That was useful. Sounds mattered. They always did. I learned her rhythm before I entered. 7:12 p.m. Dinner alone at the kitchen island. 8:03 p.m. Dishes washed, dry, then put away immediately. 9:17 p.m. Lights dim, television murmuring softly. 10:02 p.m. Bedroom door closed, lamp on. She liked control, order. So I gave her something small, something wrong. The first night, I moved the keys, just slightly. She left them in a ceramic bowl by the door, always centered, always facing the same direction. I shifted them so the metal teeth point outward instead of inward. That's all. When she came down the stairs the next morning, she paused. Not long, but just enough. Her hand hovered over the bowl before picking them up. She turned them, frowned, then shook her head like she'd just forgotten something simple. I could feel it, the faint crack. The second night, I stood closer, inside the house this time. She never heard the door open. People never do. Not when they believe in locks. I watched her sleep from the hallway. Her breathing was uneven, like her body didn't fully trust the silence. Good. Some part of her already knew. I moved the chair at the dining table. Not much. Just by an inch. The kind of movement you don't remember making, but can't quite ignore. In the morning, she froze. Actually froze this time. She stared at the chair for a long time, longer than before. Her hand tightened around her coffee mug, and I saw it. Her mind trying to reconstruct the night. Did I move that? No. I would remember. She checked the front door. Locked. Windows. Locked. Then she stood in the middle of the room, turning slowly, as if the house itself might confess. It didn't. I never do. By the fourth night, she started leaving lights on. That's always how it begins. The darkness becomes something else, something that might be hidden something. She fell asleep with the television running, volume low, flickering shadows dancing across the walls. I stood just beyond the light, watching the rhythm of her breathing. Then I stepped closer. The floor didn't creak. It never does for me. I leaned over her, close enough to feel the warmth of her breath against my face. Her eyes fluttered. For a moment, I thought she would wake. She didn't. Instead, she whispered something. "Someone's here," and turned her head away. That night, I moved something personal. The photograph. It sat on her nightstand, a smiling version of herself with two others. Family, I think, or friends. It didn't matter. I turned it face down. The reaction was different this time, immediate. She didn't brush it off. When she saw it, she reconciled slightly, like it had burned her. Her hand trembled as she flipped it back up. She didn't smile anymore, not even at the photo. That evening, she didn't follow her routine. She walked through the house slowly, deliberately, checking everything twice. Then 3 times. She opened the closets, looked around the bed, even checked behind the shower curtain. I stood in the corner of the living room while she passed through it, her eyes sweeping right over me, So close, so very close. She started listening. That's when it gets interesting. People think they're hearing sound. They're not. They're feeling me. She stopped sleeping properly. I could see it in the way her movement became jagged, her thoughts lagging behind her actions. She began making mistakes, leaving a cabinet door open, forgetting to turn off the sink completely. Small fractures. I widened them. The sixth night, I moved more. The kitchen. Chairs pulled out, not dramatically, just enough to break symmetry. A spoon placed on the counter instead of the drawer. The fridge door left slightly open. When she came down the stairs the next morning, she didn't step into the room right away. She stood at the edge, staring. Her chest rose and fell too quickly. She whispered, barely audible, "No, no, no." Then she backed away. She called someone that day. I listened. I think something's wrong. Like things are moving. I don't know. I know it sounds stupid. I'm not crazy. Her voice broke on that word. I liked that. That night, she locked herself in the bedroom, pushed a chair against the door, left every light on, and still, she couldn't stop looking at the corners. I stood inside her room for the first time. She felt me, not fully, but enough. She sat on the bed, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the door as if it might open on its own. It didn't, because I was already inside. I moved the air just slightly, a shift, a presence. Her head snapped to the side. Hello? No answer. There never is. I stepped closer. Her breath hitched. She stood slowly, like a prey sensing something just beyond its vision. I know someone's there. She turned, not far enough, never far enough. I leaned in behind her. Close, so close, my breath brushed the back of her neck. She gasped, spun around. Nothing, of course. She began to cry, quietly at first, then harder, not from fear alone, but from certainty that she was losing herself, that something impossible was happening, and no one would believe her. That is the moment I wait for, every time. The final night is always the same, not in action, in realization. She didn't sleep. She sat in the living room, lights blazing, eyes red and white, waiting. For what? She didn't know. But she knew something would happen. I stood behind her for a long time, watching, listening, waiting for the exact moment her mind slipped just enough. Then, I moved the television, just a fraction, enough for the reflection to change. She saw it. At first, she didn't understand. Her eyes narrowed, focus on the screen. Not the show, but the dark glass behind it. Her reflection stared back at her. But not alone. She leaned forward, slowly, terrified. Her voice barely whispered. Who's behind me? That's when she saw me. Not fully, not clearly, just enough. A shape, a presence, a silhouette standing directly behind her. Too close, too still, watching. She didn't turn around. She couldn't. Because some part of her knew, if she did, I would be gone. And that would be the worst. And that would be worse. So she stayed there, frozen, staring at the reflection at me. And I stared back. Because I'm still here. I never left. And now, she knows she was never alone.